Calling the meeting back to order. Mr. Clerk, will you please read in Bill 267 and Bill 268?
Bill 267 amends the state land use boundaries maps for the County of Hawaii by changing the district classification from the agricultural to the urban district at Kamaoa, Ka'u, Hawaii, tax map key 9-2-093:039, 040, 041, and 042. Applicant, Dr. William C. Falk, area 4.143 acres, reference communication 939, introduced by Mr. Kern by request, and Bill 268 amends section 25-8-28 Ka'u District Zone Map, Article 8, Chapter 25 Zoning Code of the Hawaii County Code 1983, 2005 edition by changing the district classification from agricultural 1 acre A-1A to village commercial 4,000 square feet CV-40 at Kahuku, Kauai, Ka'u, Hawaii, covered by tax map key 9-2-093:039, 040, 041, and 042. Applicant, Dr. William C. Falk. Area, 4.143 acres. The Woodward Planning Commission forwards its favorable recommendation for the applicant's request for this amendment to the state land use boundaries map and change of zone, which would allow the applicant to develop a 54,000 square foot commercial center with an additional 12,500 feet of open landscape area to be used for periodic craft fairs, Thanksgiving events, and public gatherings. Reference communication 939, introduced by Mr. Kern by request.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. May I have a motion to approve Bill 267 and send to council with a positive recommendation?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Lund and a second by Mr. Kunuma. Is the applicant or representative here? Would you like to please come forward? If you would turn your microphone on by hitting the base. Very good. And would you introduce yourself?
Good morning, Council. My name is William Stockton.
Very good. Is there any opening, if you'd like to make any opening statements or remarks, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we're going to get into discussion and have some dialogue with you.
Okay, I just agree with everybody that testified today that this will be a good commercial venture for the area there.
Very good. Any discussion? Ms. Ford.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, Mr. Stockton. And I'm sorry your architect stepped out. I understand. Okay. This development does have some problems, and I will deal with that in a little bit. But this is one of the best developments that I've seen, and one that is desperately needed in Ocean View. Desperately needed. It will provide, besides the retail space, banking, possible restaurant, farmers market can be moved into that location they're designing for, health food store, retail, medical, dental space, pharmacy, jobs in Ocean View. Jobs to keep people from driving almost 50 miles to get the services that they need. There's no banking services in Ocean View at all for 6,000 people. The traffic study has been done and already passed through the state DOT. There's no need to change the intersection unless something is changed. I'm telling what I know unless something is changed. You interrupt me if I'm wrong. So there's no need to put in left turn lanes and merge lanes and all of that, so that's good. I have had meetings with DPW and in regard to this situation. There are some problems that I'll go into. The community, Laura, Ms. Foster, could you come up real quick? Ms. Foster is the president or chairperson of the Ocean View Road Association. Is that correct?
I'm here.
Have a seat.
Chief Operating Officer
Okay,
of Ocean View.
all right, thank you.
I work directly for the board.
Okay, that's fine. So she's not speaking necessarily for the board, but I have had several conversations with her on this issue. So everything about this project is a go. The two issues that we have with the project, and the developer is working with DWS and DPW, is that this is a private road. If you look on this diagram, and you see that orange spot on mine, showing where the water department driveway is, that's where the Ocean View Well spigot station is. And right now, you can only make a left turn out of the spigot station. The reason for that law is that these are all private roads, and they're owned by the Ocean View Road Maintenance Association. There are truck routes, and in order for the water to be delivered from the spigot station by a water carrier, they gotta make a left turn and go down to the highway, and then drive north, get one of the truck routes, drive up into the subdivision, and then drive down so that they can get to this location. The spigot station is across the street. I'm gonna let Mr. Stockton talk about his discussion with DWS and their position. But the problem is that when we had the contractor put in a spigot station, they had to put a water main in Lehua Lane, that last block area. And I have to say that I've been out there and I've seen the patch job over the top of it, and it is disgustingly bad. And Mr. Stockton, he has had a discussion with DWS, which again, I'll let him talk about. We don't have enough water, according to DWS, to put a water main in, because we're drawing down too much water right now. We need a second well, which I've been working on for several years, at 5 miles north in Ocean View. So, Mr. Stockton, with that preliminary information, would you explain the meeting that you had with Water Supply and their comments or refusal to put in the water line, and we understand why, and also what you discussed with Public Works. Public Works has no control over Lehua Lane because it's a private road. We have discussed the potential of dedicating that one block to the county, but it's got to come up to county standards. The question is, who's going to pay to bring it up to county standards so that it could be dedicated? However, the dedication of that lane is not part of this submission. That's a separate action. Mr. Stockton, if you can put your sign down, if you want. And would you start with Water Supply and explain about your meeting and what Mr. Antonio advised regarding the water spigot station?
Thank you, Mrs. Ford. Mr. Antonio was not present at the meeting. He sent Sherry, the engineer that oversaw the installation of the transmission line in the water park. She was the Department of Water engineer. Our intent was to, the water transmission line is here in blue, and our intent was to bring it over to the top of our property and install a meter to service our site here. Mr. Dahlberg, who you just appointed, is my engineer for the project, and we've estimated we'll use approximately 6,000 gallons a day at full build-out, which may not occur immediately. We will be pulling that water from the water system, whether it's by truck or by meter, the same amount. We're good with trucking. We've already made contacts. The Department of Water flatly turned us down on our second attempt at this request. We would pay for the transmission line lengthening about 200 feet, 175 feet of 8-inch line, and then we could meter into that and get a proper system set up for drawing water into our project. So we're pretty much resigned to the fact that we'll be trucking water in the beginning. We understand the situation with the well. There's problems with the pump continually, out of phase, underpowered, whatever the problem is, there's a little bit of a situation there. If it goes down, we will be pulling water from the Nalalehu fill station. As far as the Department of Public Works, my discussions with Mr. Lee and Mr. Thalen were that the first things that would happen with Lehua Lane would be geotech studies would be done to confirm what was under the road, and in all likelihood, we would have to take the road out 1 foot deep and repair it up to county standards. Not we, the road would need to be repaired in that way. Curbs and gutters were brought up as far as possible additional requirements for that road. The Planning Commission imposed a condition on us on this project that we have agreed to resurface and repair Lehua Lane up to Keaka, up to the top of the street. We want to be good stewards of the community and do a good job on this road. We don't want a chopped up road coming into a nice project that we planned. So it's our intent that by the time we get a certificate of occupancy, we will have this road repaired and dressed out for the community to use. I understand that the HOVR has imposed or will be imposing trucking fees, rates for heavy hauling trucks that use their roads. If those fees or if bond or something or some way that it could be upgraded, the Lehua Lane could be upgraded, we would gladly contribute to that repair if it was before we need to do it, before our project is completed. But as we complete, we will have the road dressed up and widened. It's a 20-foot wide road now. It'll go to 24 feet with 3 feet of shoulder on each side for a 30-foot section.
Ms. Ford, your time is up. I would just go for the first round. I was going to check, see if there is anything else, and you get right back to it. Is there any other discussion? Izzy?
I had a question. You stated that before certificate of occupancy, you would be bringing the road up to a certain condition. Is that, has that become a condition of from the planning commission, or is that something we need to do here? Or is there another kind of an agreement that you're entering
Well,
into?
as this is a private road,
Mhm.
the DOT, when we applied our traffic study and got our go-ahead from them, wanted us to improve the road to the throat of our project,
Yeah.
to widen it to this 30-foot section.
Ms. Zioff, that's condition F,
Oh, thank you.
as well as
Right.
condition H,
And
as
so-
far as the road maintenance piece.
Right, and so then, as we pass through the planning commission, who doesn't have any say over this road either, they imposed a condition to extend the repair work up to Keaka, and we've agreed to that.
Okay. I see. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? Ms. Ford?
Thank you. You know, and I find it interesting that the planning commission put condition F in here when it's not a county road, it's a private road. I mean, I support the fact that it should be widened. Right now, the road is 30 feet wide, that's the right of way.
40
No,
feet.
40 feet
40
wide.
feet.
40 feet wide is the right of way, which is, of course, not to county standard, it should be 50. And so one of the things that, I've talked to Mr. Stockton about is, can he donate 5, maybe even 10 feet of his property along his property line? He can't do it along somebody else's property line, to give that 50-foot width there, and so that's under consideration. The other side of the street, there's no way we can require those people to give up 5 feet of their property. And part of the driveway of the water spigot station owned by DWS would be including that 5 feet. So we got a problem. This road widening, condition F, I just found it so fascinating that, we require this on a private road. But anyway, I guess that's another issue. In fact, Ms. Stebbins, if you'll come forward, would Ms. Foster, would you just step back, because I'm going to ask you a question in a few minutes. And I'm going to ask Ms. Stebbins. As Ms. Stebbins is coming forward, I would like her to comment on the legality of the Planning Commission putting in a condition on a roadway that doesn't belong to the county of Hawaii, i.e. it's a private road. Even though I support what is the legality of this condition F? I hope this time or this consultation is off my thing. Thank you.
Ms. Ford, I don't know, for afternoon or morning, good afternoon, committee, Molly Stebbins, Corporation Counsel. Deputy Corporation Counsel Bill Brillante was just informing me that it was his understanding during the meeting at the Planning Commission on this item, the developer agreed to that particular condition.
Thank you. My question was, what is the legality of the Planning Commission putting this condition in on a private road? I'm not asking about whether they agree to it, I know that. What is the legality of it? Is it enforceable?
Yeah, it's a stipulated to condition is my understanding.
So it's legal, you're saying?
Yes.
Thank you.
It's legal if it's agreed upon, it wouldn't necessarily
I
be legal.
understand. I wanted her to say it. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Stebbins. And Ms. Foster, would you come forward, please? One of the problems that the road maintenance organization has is the route of the water truck, which will have to, first of all, fill all of these water tanks on the property for Mr. Stockton, and then keep 6,000 gallons a day coming through, doing the circuitous routine. Also, would you hold your map up again, your TNK? Where the green, you can see he owns 4 parcels of land that will be turned into subdivision. The corner lot on the southeast side of his parcel is a privately owned unit, and the 4 lots going to the north side are privately owned. But that little piece that you see on the far west side, that parcel, yeah, that's already commercial. And across the street is commercial. So what's going to happen, this whole area is going to go commercial, because that's the name of the game. We've got to get some stuff in there. So what's going to happen is that every commercial property in there is going to have the same water truck or carriers doing the circuitous route around and around and around. Right now, we can't help it because we don't have enough water in Spigot Station unless we get the new well, which I will be proposing sometime in the future. But what it's going to do is drive a lot more traffic onto the roads being paid for by a road maintenance association that's, sorry I'm using this word, close to impoverished. If they're not doing well financially, they're not going to go bankrupt or anything, but it's a very big problem. And when the water spigot station went in, the road was destroyed. The Lehua Lane got destroyed with the water main and was not adequately paved. So I'm feeling some concern over this issue. I want this development to go in. The neighbors all want the neighbor to go in. The community wants it to go in. Even the road maintenance seems to want it. But the condition of the road, even though he's going to, Mr. Stockton will bring it up to a decent level, and it may or may not be dedicable at that moment in time. That's another issue. The problem is, we, the county, caused the problem on Lehua Lane. So one of the things, I will yield in just a second to listen to other people, but the concern I have is there's going to be another meeting, I understand, between Public Works and Water Supply and Road Maintenance and you. I'm not sure there's no scheduled meetings. Okay, would you push your button again and say that again?
Right, not at this time.
Okay. Ms. Foster, what meeting do you believe needs to take place?
Mr. Stockton is on our agenda for the Board of Directors monthly board meeting on the 29th of this month.
Okay.
I'm assuming that he's going to bring forward his proposal for the roadwork.
Thank you. You're willing to do that, right?
Yes, we are on
Okay.
the agenda and will attend.
Okay. So that's 2 weeks from now. The next meeting that we're going to have will be in Hilo, and you can testify from here or Hilo, would be The committee meeting would be August the 5th. So I'll listen to the other people speak, but I'm considering a postponement to allow this meeting to happen. And again, to allow me to have additional meetings with Public Works and Water Supply on this subject. Not that I'm going to convince anybody of anything, but that would give us the time. So I will yield at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Is there any other discussion? Ms. Eo?
I would just like to make a suggestion, or something that might be able to be discussed between you two and for the future of the other commercial projects that may go in there. If the county cannot, or if you cannot bring the road up to county deductible standards, has to stay private, would each of the commercial developments be required to pay into the road maintenance fee? Or is there a option that they could pay a portion that would be fair, and as more of it grows, because more wear and tear on the road would occur, that you would then have enough money in the fund to keep the road maintained?
That's a possibility. We are working with commercial haulers and the commercial businesses in that area.
To see if they can pay into the road maintenance fund?
Yes. We're actually not near broke, but with 157 miles of roadway and a lot more people moving into Ocean View, there's obviously a lot of road work to be done. And right now, our biggest cost is petroleum. We pay for road fuel for the road, $8 a gallon, and it's some 5,000 gallons to put on the ground. That doesn't include anything else. Very expensive. And the wear and tear that's Leroy Lane right now is overburdened in its own right by water haulers, not just the commercial water haulers, but also private individuals who are allowed to fill up at 6 spigots there at the fill station. And so there's traffic in and out of there all day long, 7 days a week. They open at 7 in the morning and they close at 5 o'clock in the evening.
And that's going all over.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you. I hope you find a workable solution so that everybody feels good about going forward with this.
Is there anyone else? If there's no objection, I'd like to just make a couple comments.
I don't have any problem, of course, but I would like to postpone this if possible.
I'm not going to make any motions or anything. I'd just like to make a couple comments. I support this project, and it's obviously a place that needs this. It's an interesting scenario, and I think right now is the time to potentially figure out some of these creative solutions so we don't have this problem moving forward. As Ms. Ford said, if we need 50 feet right away, maybe now's the time to look at that, because at the end of the day, if that area could be built to dedicable standards, it would save so much, and it is going to be a commercial mecca in there. And what it's going to take is, how do you do that? I mean, obviously the developer right now is willing to put money and they're going to be expending a certain amount of money. The road association is putting in money. If there's some way they can come together, maybe with other property owners, and find a way to do it right the first time, that would be amazing, and that would begin to change the game. As far as the Department of Water Supply goes, I'm a little bit perplexed because, correct me if I'm wrong, you can't get the water to your property, but the truck's going to go over there and fill up 6,000 gallons and bring it over to your property.
Yes.
I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense, and it's not leading to the infrastructure that we need here on the Big Island. This is, you know what I mean? We need this, and without that type of infrastructure, we're not going to see the growth and the services that we need in our communities. So again, I'm not against the postponement. I'm not in favor of the postponement. What I am in favor of is figuring out something that will work for the longevity of this project and that area, which I think would behoove both the developer, the association, and the community. And if you're able to do that, it'll save a tremendous amount of pain in the future. And again, this water supply thing, I'm just kind of scratching my head.
Mr. Kern, may I say, with all due respect, when we met with the Department of Water Supply, I was dismayed at their lack of even wanting to listen to any reason. You know, I'm perplexed too, why they can't just hook up to the water supply, since that's where the water is going to come from, and why it can't just be metered and shut off if they're using too much water. But Department of Water Supply wasn't even interested in listening to anything or having any dialogue with myself. I'm not real sure about Mr. Stockton, but
Well, thank you for that, and that could be a potential solution. If you could actually, if they would allow you to, bring a pipe in there, and if they're worried about flow, have a reserve tank on there that you could have filled. You have 10,000 gallons in reserve, and if they said, hey, today's one of those water days, you gotta shut off your, your meter. And this is prime example of where we need to find balance, where we need to come together on all fronts and figure out something that works. Otherwise, this is gonna go through, and it's gonna work, but not work as well as it ultimately could. And I just feel like we need to stop that perpetual kind of lack of, or we're 80% there. Let's try to do it right if we can, but not do it in the way that's going to ultimately hurt the community, ultimately hurt everybody by postponing and this taking forever. If we can do it, we should do it now. And if we can't, let's just move forward, do the very best that we can, and try to have some type of a plan or mitigation measures in the future so that we could do that. And the big way I see that is having that additional area to widen the road. And if you were to do that, usually when a property gives something for widening, that comes off of their fair share contribution. So it's not that it's a loss of some property, but monetarily it kind of works itself out. That's my thinking. So I'm open, and if there's I don't think really any other certainly let you know. And if Ms. Ford wants to go next, Ms. Willie actually wants to go next. So I'll go Ms. Willie and then Ms. Ford.
Okay, I would just like to suggest that we move this on to council, and that perhaps bring in, if there's any, if we need sort of more comment, and allow them to work on it, if there's any need to work with the water supply, rather than holding it up. We're not gonna, anyway, that's my suggestion. I'd like to move it on, allow them to work and get back to it.
If I could just make a quick comment on that, I think we should ask the developer on how he feels about that. I mean, obviously as council, we have the final choice, but we might,
Yeah.
with some of this creative process, we might need a little bit of that time here, that what we do in the committee, try to work things out. So I think that should be a question directed to the developer, just because he's got the time frame.
Thank you very much. I think that Ms. Foster and I will have come to terms. I'm going to repair the road with chip mix to match the existing roadway, extend it 2 feet on each side to create a 12-foot lane on each side with 3 feet of shoulder. I've been there with several road contractors to discuss the problem. We will bring the road up to a higher standard than it is now. Road maintenance is charged with road maintenance, and we will gladly pay our fair share once the rates are worked out and adjusted. So at this time, I would ask that the council move this forward, and we will perform the conditions that we've agreed to, and that we take care of this. We will go down and make discussions with the road board here on the 29th, so I think that we both are understanding about what is going to happen here, and we will gladly contribute our funds towards the repair to upgrade of the road if that is a timely matter.
Mr. Locke?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will support Councilmember Willie's request. And just to let the other council members know is that we can always refer this back to committee if need to. So I will support moving this forward, and thank you.
Any other discussion? Ms. Ford?
Thank you. Well, we all know we're supposed to do the heavy lifting in the committee. And if we need to make amendments, this is where we should be making the amendments so that the community can see them in advance. But it's obvious it's obvious to me that several people on the council, maybe even the majority, will not support an amendment or a postponement, which will allow me more time to be able to talk to water supply and public works. I will be talking to them during the next 2 weeks. That's not a problem. But I think that the result of that, if those conversations are at all successful, would mean amendments that I think should be taken care of and at the committee level. That's why I wanted to ask for postponement. I don't think we're going to be gaining anything by pushing this forward. Mr. Stockton, when would you plan on breaking ground if this was passed in the next 6 weeks. No, when would you be breaking ground if this was passed? Your light, please, your microphone's off.
No, it's not. Excuse me. It- No, I couldn't imagine anything happening within 6 months.
Thank you. There's not an urgency here. I'd like to do this right. This is gonna be, this is gonna set a standard in Ocean View, maybe even with water supply and DEPW, that we should do it right the first time. As Mr. Kern said, we're gonna have a commercial center here, which is what we need. So the last thing I want to say, I'm going to try to do the thing. There were several questions asked by Ms. Harden. Does it follow the community development plan? Well, that's not completed, probably won't be during this term. Do the neighbors want it? The development, yes. Is it well planned? Yes. Is it a strip mall? No. Is it clustered with other commercial uses? Yes. Is there sufficient state and county services to support the project? No. You know, we just don't have services in Ocean View. And will this set a precedent for not towing the line on concurrency regarding water, roads, and other infrastructure? If we do it wrong, it'll set a really bad precedent, and that's what my concern is. So I do move to postpone this to August 5th, the next committee meeting. Thank you.
Second.
And I would need, thank you,
You got
Mr.
a,
Oishi.
You got a motion to postpone to August 5th by Ms. Ford, a second by Mr. Onishi. I do see our corporation counsel here. I'd like to have her come up. Ms. Foster, would you please take a seat in the back there? Thank you. So before we get into discussion on postponement,
Thank you, Chair Kern. Sorry, I just wanted to add something to clarify my earlier response to your question, Ms. Ford. You were asking about the legality for the condition stated in item F. And I didn't want to give the impression that the legal basis for that was that the parties had stipulated to it. I mean, when the council is looking at a change of zone, you have the authority to impose conditions necessary to prevent adverse effects to public health, safety, and welfare. So that's ultimately the basis for that condition, and it is worth noting that the developer, and that the party did agree to that.
I understand the public health, safety, and welfare, totally agree with you. However, this is still a private road, and so you're telling us that we have, as a council, the right to impose public health, safety, and welfare conditions on private roads.
we're gonna rezone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna depend on the particular circumstances and condition, but, you know, depending on the circumstances, yes.
I appreciate your answer, the clarity. Thank you very much. So, my motion.
Okay, so we're on the motion to postpone. Is there a discussion on the postponement? Not the, Ms. Millie?
Yeah, I'm open to the postponement if that's the persuasion. I just thought if he was moving, I feel there's a great deal of goodwill here, and in terms of working with all of you, and that in support of that, I felt that perhaps we could address this over the next 2 weeks. But if you know, if there really is the need for working through things, that's okay. We will not be having a committee meeting, the first meeting in September, we're now talking about, so I just thought it might be helpful to move it on. And I just would like to, if the developer has any further comments on this, I'd just like to ask him.
Thanks, Ms. Willie. I've been working on adjustments now, trying to get this through for about 6 weeks, since about 3 weeks before our planning hearing, which was June 5th. So at that time, I began trying to do this road problem that I knew would be in my way, or would cause this kind of concern. We're under the position that to take this quarter mile of Lehua Lane to county standards would be a heavy burden for our project. The rest of the subdivision where there is special use permits that have allowed strip malls and the Kamagaki grocery store, those projects were not imposed any undue burdens to repair roads. And there's fuel trucks pulling into those projects, there's water trucks coming into those projects, there's Ace Hardware, there's containers coming into that project. So Lehua Lotus Blossom is heavily used. And we feel that it would be an undue burden on our project to bring this quarter mile of Lehua Lane up to county standards to support the water department, basically, whose load is wearing the road out. Private residents coming to fill their truck and water trucks coming to fill their truck. Our project will be the only commercial project on that street, and we fully intend to comply with the county planning commission's condition to upgrade the road. Ms. Foster is aware of what our conditions are. She's in agreement. There are not going to be any surprises here. My meeting with Mr. Lee at the Department of Public Works led to my understanding of what's going to happen. He told me that even if we do all the work to get this up, there's still a chance the county would not take this road into their fold. It'd be the only road within miles and miles of a county road that would be a county dedicated standard. So I'm unaware of any changes that would be brought about by my meetings with the Road Maintenance Corp. I'm just trying to make sure that we're all on the same page. And the Department of Water Supply connection, they're autonomous. I don't think that there is any chance the council can have a bearing on the Department of Water Supply. I'm not even sure if the mayor has any bearing on the Department of Water Supply. So they're pretty much untouchable, and they're stuck in this no commercial meter setup that they've imposed on themselves. So I'm not looking, I don't have any hope of a commercial meter there. We could, I would appreciate any comments their way to that effect, but I don't think it would matter. So I'm unaware of any changes that could be brought forward in the next 6 weeks or 6 months. Thank you.
Okay, so, I tend to work by deadlines, and unless there's really something that's gonna come up, I would like to, it seems like a great project. I feel like you're expressing a lot of goodwill, and, I certainly don't mind if you put pressure on us to talk to the water folks. And in general, I think that, there are a lot of things in our development code that could be improved. And one is some of these, like the road standards where it's one size fits all. I do have problems with, and I think we need to address. Anyway, I appreciate what you said, and I would like to move it forward unless there's really something that's going to take so much more time and that we can't accomplish, and I don't feel I've heard that. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Blue. Ms. Ford, and then to Mr. Alani.
Ms. Stebbins, you may wish to defer to Mr. Brillante. Mr. Stockton said something I don't think is quite correct, that DPW, even if we brought the one block area of Lehua Lane up to county dedical standards, that the Department of Public Works could refuse to take on that particular street. My understanding of the law is that if it reaches county dedicable standards and the owner wishes, that would be the Road Maintenance Association, wishes to dedicate it, we must accept the dedication. Would you like to comment on that? Am I right or wrong?
I don't believe that's the case, but I will see if,
Okay, I don't know
the
what case
Corporation
you're talking
Council,
about. Is my,
what you said, that the county must.
yes, that's
No, I-
my understanding of the law, that the county must accept it if it's at county dedicable standards and the owner says, I want to dedicate it. I want to check with
I'm
Mr.
going to ask
Galante.
Mr. Belmonte to come up and address that question.
It was Mr. Warren Lee that made that comment to me, so.
Thank you, he's a great engineer, but he's not an attorney. Thank you. Mr. Galante, have I been under an illusion all these years?
Good afternoon, council members and committee members, Chair, thank you. Ms. Ward, William Brahanti, Deputy Corporation Counsel. Unfortunately, it's not a matter that I deal with, regularly. That's a matter that's primarily with the Department of Public Works. But my understanding is the process is that if there's a requirement to build a road to county dedicable standards, there's conditions set, and there's requirements that are in place that need to be satisfied. And once the developer makes a representation that they've satisfied the requirements, then in order for the county to accept the dedication of the road, I believe all dedications still have to come back through the council, and there's a discretionary act in and of itself where the council doesn't have to accept it. You're not bound to accept it, so that'll be my response.
Okay, well, I'm not comfortable with that response, but I accept it at this moment. I'll challenge it later. Thank you.
Okay, and giving everybody a little bit of latitude because you're on that postponement, but let's try to bring it back on, Mr. Water.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make this short. I won't be supporting the postponement, and I think we should go on and move this to council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll make a quick comment too. I think it'd be great if we could get this figured out. I think it's going to be tough. I think we have Mr. Stockton here who's been beating his head up against that wall and has been somewhat realistic of saying, hey, here's where we're at. If there could be something better, that would be great. And I would never say to make you do the dedicable standard, just be like, there's money going to be invested in it. If there's a way to do that, it's going to be challenging. I think we should push this forward. If there's something that does happen over the next 2 weeks, we do an excellent meeting with DPW or DWS, and we need to get to it, sure, we could bring it back, or we could ask for a little latitude at council. But otherwise, we're just going to be stalling this out, and it's a challenge, because I don't like to postpone this. I don't want us to be harder on applicants than possible, but I know where Ms. Ford is coming from. This is trying to get it to a solution. This is a catch-22. At the same time, I'm going to have to go with the applicant's wishes to move this forward. If there is something that can be done, let's do it. So I won't support this postponement as well. With that, let's do a roll call vote for the postponement.
Ms. Eo?
No.
Ms. Ford?
Aye.
Ms. Milligan?
No.
Mr. Kanuha? Mr. Onishi?
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter?
No?
Ms. Willie? Mr. Yoshimura?
No.
Chair Kern?
No.
Chair Kern, you have 2 ayes and 7 noes.
Very good. So now we're back to the main motion. Is there any final discussion? Seeing none, I'll do a voice vote for this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, we have 9 in favor. This Bill 267 will move to council with a positive recommendation. Now may I please have a motion for Bill 268, motion to approve and send to council with a positive recommendation. We got a motion by Mr. Kanuha, second by Mr. Alagan. This is the accompanying bill. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, we have 9 in favor. Bill 268 will move to council with a positive recommendation. So we'll see you at council.
Thank you very much, council.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, let's move to...